Welcome to Tales for Learners. Today I want to share a story, a true journey, my journey, because I was once like you, struggling with English, struggling with confidence. Every word felt heavy, every conversation felt impossible, but something changed, and in just 6 months, everything was different. I will not tell you empty tips. I will show you the system, the exact routine, the tools I used, and how you can do the same. So stay with me until the end, because this is not just about learning English. This is about transforming your brain, your habits, your life. Step 1. The day I decided. It started with frustration. I remember sitting in a small room, listening to people speak English around me. I understood nothing. My heart was beating fast. My mind was blank. I felt small, invisible. That night I promised myself something. Enough is enough. 6 months from today, I will speak English. Not perfectly, not like a professor, but clearly, confidently. That decision was the seed. The most powerful thing was not a book or a teacher. It was the decision to commit, to say no more excuses. So if you are watching this now, I want you to repeat after me. Today is my day. 6 months from today, I will speak English. Because the journey begins with a decision. Without that, nothing else matters. Step 2. Discovering graded readers. 1 week later, I walked into a bookstore. My eyes searched the shelves. Thick grammar books, heavy dictionaries, complicated novels. All of them scared me. And then I found something small. Thin books, simple covers. On the top it said, Graded Reader, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. I picked one up. It was only 30 pages, simple English, easy sentences. For the first time, I read an entire story in English without stopping, and I felt something I never felt before: joy. That night, I finished the book. I understood most of it. I learned new words without stress, and I wanted more. This was the key. Graded readers are like English made for growth. Not too hard, not too easy, just right. Like training wheels on a bicycle. So every day, I read one story. Short, simple, but powerful. And with each story, my confidence grew. But reading alone is not enough. What I did next made all the difference. Step 3. Building my daily routine. The biggest mistake learners make is inconsistency. They study for 2 hours one day, then stop for a week. They learn 10 new words, then forget them. English is like water. If you drink it daily, you stay alive. If you drink once a week, you feel weak. So I built a routine, a small but powerful routine. Morning, afternoon, and night. In the morning, I read a graded reader for 15 minutes. Not too much, just enough to wake up my brain with English. While others checked social media, I checked stories. In the afternoon, I practiced speaking aloud. I repeated sentences from the book. I said them in front of a mirror. I recorded my voice. I compared. At first, my voice sounded strange, wrong, but slowly I began to sound better. At night, before sleeping, I listened to one English audio, sometimes a graded reader audiobook, sometimes a short podcast. I did not understand everything, but I listened with patience. My brain was training even as I slept. This daily routine was like brushing teeth. Small, regular, automatic. And small things done daily become big results over time. Step 4. Speaking aloud. Every day, reading silently is good, but speaking aloud is power. When I only read with my eyes, English stayed inside my head. When I spoke with my mouth, English became alive. At first I felt shy. Alone in my room, I spoke to myself. I repeated dialogues from movies. I copied sentences from books. I said, I am learning English. I can speak English. I will not give up. Speaking aloud trained my tongue, my lips, my breath. It turned English into sound. And sound is memory. The more I said it, the more natural it became. I even started speaking aloud while walking. People looked at me, but I didn't care. I knew every word I spoke was building muscle memory. Here's a trick I used. I called it mirror talk. I stood in front of a mirror and had conversations with myself. I asked questions. I gave answers. Sometimes funny, sometimes serious, but always in English. This habit made me confident. Because if you can talk to yourself without fear, you can talk to anyone. Step 5. Shadowing native speakers. Then came shadowing. This was one of the most powerful methods. I listened to a sentence in English and immediately repeated it, word for word, with the same tone, the same rhythm, the same speed. It felt like chasing someone's voice, like being a shadow. At first I was slow, my tongue twisted, my brain lagged, but with practice I began to match. Shadowing gave me 2 gifts. First, it trained my ear. I began to hear sounds I never noticed before. Second, it trained my mouth. I began to speak with natural rhythm, not robotic grammar. One of my favorite shadowing practices was with movies. I would pause a scene, listen to the actor, then repeat. Sometimes I pretended I was the actor. I copied their emotions, their energy, their style. This practice gave me not just English, it gave me expression. I felt alive when I shadowed, but something was still missing. Reading, speaking, shadowing were strong, but memory was weak. I needed a way to remember everything. Step 6. Remembering through emotion. One problem I faced was forgetting. I read a story, I understood it, but the next day, gone. The words disappeared. The sentences faded. My brain felt like a leaky bucket. Then I discovered something powerful. Memory is tied to emotion. Facts fade, feelings stay. So I stopped learning words like a robot. Instead, I added emotion. When I learned the word happy, I closed my eyes. I remembered my happiest day. A birthday with friends, laughter, cake, balloons. Suddenly the word happy was alive, not just letters, but feeling. When I learned the word angry, I remembered the day I missed a bus and stood in the rain, wet, cold, furious. The emotion glued the word into my brain. This was the secret. Every word became a story. Every phrase carried a picture, and stories stay longer than lists. Step 7. Living English in daily life. Books and audios are good, but life is better. I realized I could turn my daily life into English class. I changed my phone to English. Every button, every message forced my brain to learn. I wrote my to-do lists in English. Simple sentences like buy milk or call friend. I even spoke to my dog in English. He didn't care, but my brain did. While cooking, I named the ingredients aloud. Tomato, onion, salt. While walking, I described the street, car, tree, shop. Everything around me became vocabulary. This habit transformed my environment. English was not just study, it was life. And when language becomes life, it never leaves you. Step 8. Journaling in English. One of my most powerful tools was a notebook. Every night before sleep I wrote. Not much, just 5 sentences. Simple, honest, daily. Today I read a story. I learned 5 new words. I felt tired but happy. That was it. No pressure for perfection, just practice. Over time, my journal became a mirror of progress. At first, the sentences were short, broken, but after weeks, they grew longer, clearer, stronger. Journaling gave me confidence because I could see proof that my English was growing day by day, and proof is motivation. Step 9. Thinking directly in English. Here was the turning point. For many months I translated. I thought in my native language, then changed it into English. Slow, painful, heavy. Then I forced myself to think directly in English. At first it was hard, but I started small. I asked myself, what am I doing now? I am eating, I am reading, I am walking, I am learning. These small sentences became automatic. And soon my brain stopped translating. It started living in English. Thinking in English is like changing gears in a car. At first it feels rough, but once you switch, the ride becomes smooth. This shift was freedom. English was no longer a subject. It was my second voice. But I still faced one big challenge: fear of speaking with real people. Step 10. Overcoming fear of speaking. This was my biggest wall. I could read, I could write, I could think in English. But when I opened my mouth in front of real people, fear froze me. My throat closed. My mind went blank. I realized fear is not about English. Fear is about judgment. What will they think? Will they laugh? Will I sound stupid? These questions poisoned me. One day, I made a decision. I would speak anyway, even if wrong, even if broken, even if people laughed. My goal was not perfection. My goal was courage. So I practiced with strangers, shopkeepers, taxi drivers, online friends. I made mistakes every day, but I survived. And each time the fear grew smaller. Speaking is like swimming. You cannot learn on the shore. You must jump into the water, and the more you swim, the stronger you become. Step 11. Finding conversation partners. I knew I needed practice with real people, so I searched online. I joined language groups. I used apps. I found partners from different countries. Some wanted to learn my language. Some just wanted to practice English. We spoke on video calls. At first, 10 minutes felt like a mountain, but slowly I climbed higher. 30 minutes, 1 hour. Conversations that once scared me became exciting. Sometimes the partners corrected me. Sometimes they just listened. Both were useful, because the goal was not perfect grammar. The goal was flow. Conversation partners gave me more than practice. They gave me connection. They showed me English is not just a language, it is a bridge to the world. Step 12. Repetition is power. Many learners chase new words every day. They think more words equal more progress. But the truth is, repetition builds fluency, not more. Better. So I created a system. Every week I chose 10 new phrases. I used them again and again, in writing, in speaking, in conversations. By the end of the week, those phrases became natural. Repetition is like carving. Each time you repeat, the groove becomes deeper in your brain. Soon, it is automatic. So I stopped running after hundreds of words. I mastered a few, then added more. Step by step, phrase by phrase. Repetition gave me strength. Step 13. Learning from mistakes. I once recorded a conversation with a partner. Later, I listened. I heard my mistakes. Wrong tenses, wrong pronunciation. At first, I felt ashamed, but then I realized each mistake was a teacher. So I created a mistake journal. Every time I noticed an error, I wrote it down. Then I wrote the correction. I reviewed it weekly, and slowly the mistakes disappeared. Instead of fearing mistakes, I began to chase them. Because each mistake pointed to a weakness, and when you know your weakness, you can fix it. Mistakes became my map, and maps lead to treasure. But one more thing was needed. Without energy, without motivation, none of this would last. I also discovered that graded readers were not only about language, but also about culture. Through simple versions of classic novels, I was introduced to characters, traditions, and settings that were completely new to me. When I read about life in Victorian England or the daily struggles of a young student in America, I could see the cultural values behind the words. This gave me not just vocabulary, but also a sense of how English speakers think, behave, and interact. Learning the language in this way made it alive and real. Another important part of my 6-month journey was keeping a simple daily journal. Every night I would write a short entry in English. At first, it was just a few lines like, "Today I read a story." It was good. I learned 10 new words. Slowly, those lines became paragraphs. Later, I could describe my feelings, my daily routine, and even retell the stories I had read. This habit of writing made me more confident in using the language actively instead of just reading or listening passively. Speaking practice was another key factor. I did not always have native speakers around me, but I used creative ways to practice. Sometimes I would talk to myself while walking, describing the things I saw in English. Other times, I recorded my own voice reading graded readers aloud. Then I listened back, noticing where I needed to improve my pronunciation. It was strange at first, but very effective. The daily repetition trained my tongue and ears to get comfortable with English sounds. By the third month, I noticed something remarkable. My reading speed had increased, my listening comprehension had improved, and my confidence was growing. I could understand simple YouTube videos without subtitles. I could follow English songs and even sing along. These small victories gave me the motivation to continue. They showed me that the system I created was working. I realized that learning English was not about memorizing lists of rules. It was about building habits that slowly trained my brain. In the fourth month, I added another technique. I started shadowing, which means listening to audio in English and trying to repeat it immediately, almost at the same time as the speaker. I chose short graded reader audiobooks or simple podcasts. At first, it was very difficult to keep up, but I kept practicing every day. This method improved my fluency because I was training my brain to think and speak at the same time. Shadowing also helped me reduce the influence of my native language on my English speech. As the months went on, I kept all these habits consistent. Reading, listening, writing, speaking, and shadowing. None of them took more than 1 or 2 hours a day, but because I did them every single day without fail, the results multiplied. By the 5th month, I could read graded readers without stopping to translate. I could write 1 full page in my journal with very few mistakes. I could record myself speaking for 3 to 5 minutes without hesitation. These were big changes compared to where I had started. Finally, in the 6th month, I tested myself. I picked a graded reader at a slightly higher level, one that was a little more difficult than what I was used to. I wanted to see if I could handle it. To my surprise, I could understand almost everything. I also joined an online language exchange session where I spoke with other learners and some native speakers. I was nervous, but I realized that I could introduce myself, explain my ideas, and even make jokes. That was the moment I knew I had transformed my English in just 6 months. Looking back, the key was not any single technique. The secret was the combination of habits done daily. Graded readers gave me input. Journaling gave me output. Shadowing gave me fluency. Self-recording gave me confidence. And consistency gave me results. Anyone can use this system. You don't need expensive courses or perfect conditions. All you need is the discipline to follow a routine day after day. When I completed my 6-month journey, I felt like a new person. English was no longer a distant dream or a difficult subject. It had become part of my daily life. I could enjoy books, movies, and conversations without feeling lost. Most importantly, I had built the confidence to keep learning on my own. The truth is, 6 months was just the beginning. But those 6 months gave me the foundation that will stay with me forever. If I were to give advice to anyone who wants to learn English, it would be this: do not wait for the perfect time, the perfect teacher, or the perfect book. Start with what you have and make it a daily habit. Graded readers are powerful because they give you material that is just right for your level. Pair them with listening, journaling, and speaking practice, and you will see steady growth. The key is not speed, but consistency. Small actions every day will build big results over time. Remember, language learning is not about talent. It is about persistence. Some days you will feel tired. Some days you will not feel like practicing. But if you show up, even for 10 minutes, you are training your brain. Every page you read, every sentence you write, every word you speak adds up. 6 months from now, you will look back and be amazed at how far you have come. So my story is not special. It is simply proof that anyone can do this. If I could improve my English in 6 months, so can you. You just need a clear system, patience, and daily effort. Trust the process and do not give up when it feels slow. Progress is invisible at first, but one day you will notice it shining through.